Hey y'all, this is Tony Paradis. I'm a licensed dietitian and personal trainer with food and fitness. Today, we're talking about nutrition and fitness considerations for youth cyclists. Now, when it comes to youth cyclists, we're not going to treat them like little adults. They have special considerations, and today we're going to be talking about 7 of these. Guys, if you're watching for the first time, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please check out my website down below at foodandfitnessonline.com. Moving forward. First, let's look at balanced diet versus calories. So when we're talking about a youth in any kind of sport, we really want to build a foundation of a good diet, and we're looking at lifestyle changes. Okay? What we don't want to do is we don't want to get our youth athletes and our youth cyclists into the dieting mindset. They should be able to balance their calories by simply focusing on eating healthier foods. Many times I see my youth athletes relying too much on fast food, on highly processed snack foods, drinking a lot of sodas, and things like that. If we can just simply clean up their diet a little bit, focus more on whole fruits and vegetables, minimally processed foods, switching out the soda for things like milk and occasionally juice, and teaching them to eat those, what we maybe call junk foods in more moderation and variety, we're just going to see an overall more athletic body, a leaner body, and hopefully one that never has to really focus on dieting at any point in the future. So we're training our children in order to be successful adults. What we don't want them to do is to get a preconceived notion that eating healthy has to be about counting calories or about restriction or anything like that, which is sometimes the focus that we need to take as an adult because we don't learn that balance as a kid. Case in point is most overweight people had overweight parents, and it's not because of genetics, it's because they never learned the kind of lifestyle skills that we need to teach our youth cyclists. So in balanced food versus counting calories, I'm always going to want to look at balancing food first. There are times when it is appropriate for a youth athlete to look at calories and energy and things like that. It depends on the age, the maturity level, and where that youth cyclist is at. Okay, number 2 is food versus supplements. So a lot of times our youth athletes look at adults and what they're doing. They're eating the goos, they're doing the shot blocks, they may be doing post-recovery drinks that are supplements, and that's not what I want the youth athlete, the youth cyclist to be focusing on. Any kind of supplemental food can be replaced with a whole food equivalent. When you're doing those little goo gel packs, you're getting a certain amount of carbohydrates and maybe some caffeine in there. Okay, so for a youth, you may want to do something like a piece of fruit or a whole food equivalent, pretzels. I could go on, but we're looking at the big picture here, which is whole foods versus supplements. Only very seldomly, and I would even say, and only when the child gets older and more mature in the sport, should you even be considering things like supplements. So if you can, always use whole foods. There are times when supplements are appropriate, but you shouldn't be relying on those, especially if it's with your kid. Number 3, building muscle in puberty. Okay, so this is where we talk about just the general growth of the child. During puberty is a really important time to build muscle. Why? Because they have the most amount of natural testosterone. Obviously, this is going to be more pronounced in young boys than any other time in their life. You can really use this to their advantage by focusing on a muscle building program, working out, lifting the weights, so that they can put on that muscle, which is important for health, for metabolism, and also important for body image, which is something we'll get here in a little bit. Remember, we're not treating the youth like a little adult. So if they want to do the road racing, it's not really important that we keep them super skinny and super scrawny. It's trying to make them avoid doing push-ups and pull-ups or some moderate weightlifting so that they're not putting on extra bulk. I mean, it may make sense that way for an adult athlete, but that's not something we want to do for youths. You want to encourage them to have a just overall good approach to wellness and in building the best body that they can, because hey, we don't know if they're going to stick with cycling forever. We want them to have injury prevention, and it's always easy to lose muscle. So if they ever feel like they're getting too bulky, hey, all you got to do is just stay out of the gym for a little while. Okay, it's a lot harder to go back later and try to build that muscle. And kind of stepping aside a little bit and looking at my horribly drawn scale here, one thing we want to keep in mind is how do we balance health and performance? Okay, yes, it may be true that in the national levels and in the Olympic levels that we may need to cut down some muscle. But overall, for a general recommendation for youth athletics is you want to be able to balance those things and not worry too much about specificity. Which brings me to my next point. Number 4, balanced training versus specificity. The youth cyclist should be engaging in a number of different sports, even besides cycling. And in cycling, should be engaging in a number of different training for different kinds of races. So for road racing, for crits, for cyclocross, all sorts of different things to get them exposed to it and to give them not such a focused and linear specificity in their training. We're seeing a lot of overuse injuries in youths, more than we've seen in years prior. And this has a lot to do with trying to treat young athletes like little adults, and before their bodies are even fully developed, we're trying to get them so specific in one component of the sport that it really doesn't even make sense. Okay, so if you want to optimize your young cyclist's health, you should encourage them. Of course, there's always going to be a focus. Don't get me wrong, that's not what I'm trying to say. Okay, but what you do want to do is you do want to expose them to things like the weightlifting, other sports like running, football, cross country, those sorts of things, along with the cycling. And as they get older, closer to 18, and then you can start narrowing things down. And that's my recommendation for overall health. Number 5, body confidence and eating disorders. Eating disorders is something that plagues both young men and young women in many different sports. They're comparing themselves to people in the magazines, people in the media, and we know that the media does not send a good image to our youth, let alone our adults, about good body image. So this is one thing that we do want to take into consideration. If they are using on a nutrition program, are they getting obsessed with it? Are they weighing themselves too often? I don't even recommend that my young male or female athletes weigh themselves more than once a month. And even then, they don't even need to look at the scale. As the parent, you can keep note of that because it's important, to make sure that they're growing or that they're not growing too fast and putting on too much fat. But it doesn't need to be front and center stage when it comes to the young athlete. So you're going to have different considerations with doing measurements on the young athlete and also in taking weight and things like that. Anyways, moving on. Number 6, food lifestyle skills. So this is where kind of I touched on when I said some people who are overweight, or most people who are overweight, had obese family members, had obese parents. What you want to do as a parent is, when it comes to your youth cyclists, is you want to teach them the lifestyle skills that they're going to be able to take with them to college, that they're going to be able to take with them and be a successful, healthy adult. Okay, so if you're teaching them early on to rely on supplements, to rely on dining out often, to rely on highly processed snack foods and things like that, where are they going to just pick up the idea that they need to eat healthier later on in life? It's not something that just falls out of the sky or they learn in college or anything like that. I get adults in my nutrition practice that have never really learned how to cook, maybe boiling water, but that's about it. That may sound shocking to some people, but this is happening more and more and more, and this brings me to my next point, adult modeling. As a sports dietitian that works with youth athletes, and especially youth cyclists, let me get one point across that I want to make very clear. I'm not here to fix your kid, okay? I'm not here to undo a lifelong learned obesity. I'm not here for you to drop somebody off and for me to fix them. If your kid is overweight or if your kid is eating junk food, it's because you let them. Okay? Now I'm not trying to attack anybody here or make anybody feel bad, but they don't have control over the grocery list. They have some control over things like that. But the most important thing, if you ignore every other thing on this talk that I'm giving today, remember number 7. Adult modeling is by far the most important thing when it comes to ensuring that your young athlete grows up to be a successful, healthy adult. Okay? If they never see you cook, they're never going to cook. If they see mom or dad constantly weighing themselves, complaining about their weight, always going to Weight Watchers meetings and making dieting a stressful anxiety thing, what do you think is going to happen as they see that over and over again? That's how they're going to learn that and how they're going to relate that. But the important thing is that it's not too late. Okay? If things have gotten askew in your family, it's not too late. It's never too late. What I encourage you to do if you do want to work with a dietitian, if you were to work with somebody like me, is to come in with the mentality that you're there for getting your young athlete to learn the sports performance aspect of nutrition. But you're also there as a family. And everybody needs to be involved with this. Mom, dad, brother, sister, everybody needs to be involved with this if it's going to be a successful lifestyle change. Because you can't just have one person trying to model and be a good role model while they get resistance or mixed messages from everybody else. So it's never too late. And like once again, I'm not trying to say that it's your fault if your kid is unhealthy and you're a horrible parent. What I am trying to say is that it's deeply integrated between the family dynamic and the outcome of the youth athlete. And that's something that needs to be taken into consideration before anything else on this talk that I gave today. But in summation, we want to focus on just a balanced diet. Moderation, variety, balance are the most important things for the youth athlete to focus on before they get to calories. Food, always choose whole food versus supplements. Try to build more muscle in puberty and in those younger years because it's an important time for them to do that, and it's not time to get toward specialized training until your child is closer to 18 years old. Body image is important to keep track of as well. Keep a lookout for eating disordered behaviors. Keep a lookout for body image disordered behaviors. And if you see that, talk to your doctor, talk to your dietitian, because it's good to nip those things in the bud before they get out of hand. They need to focus on food lifestyle skills. So a really good take-home point here is teach your kid how to cook. Teach them how to go grocery shopping. Take them with you, because if they don't learn those skills from you, who are they going to learn them from? And most importantly, if you're fit, if you're healthy, your kids, even though they're probably resistant to your ideas, especially as they get older, they're still going to model after you, and they're going to be grateful that you took the time and the effort and the energy to put in taking care of yourself, because that translates into taking care of your family. My name is Tony Paradis. I'm a licensed dietitian with personal trainer in Flower Mound, Texas. Check out my website. I'm going to link that down below at foodandfitnessonline.com. Please like, please subscribe, and hang tight, because I'll be making more videos for youth athletes in consideration with nutrition and cycling. Thank you.